And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Connected for Real podcast. I am Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman. I'm a marriage coach for women in business and successful careers. And today with me is Chany. Chany, introduce yourself. We are going to be talking about receiving and marriage. Just a heads up, this is the topic, and it's actually loaded with awesome insights. So stay tuned. And let's do it. Chany, introduce yourself.
Yes, hi. Okay, Rebbetzin Bat-Chen, I'm so excited to be here. This is such an honor, such a pleasure. I love speaking about this topic, so I'm going to give a small introduction. I'm Chany Felberbaum. I work with people to help release their past, traumas, and of course, marriage is always a big one. And I became so passionate, and being on the journey of my marriage, making it from good to greater to amazing, Baruch Hashem, to passionate about helping women out there all over the world get to that amazing, loving, blissful, passionate, electric place in their marriage. And that's what spurred me on to create the Intimacy Secret Summits, which I did a year and a half ago and 2.5 years ago. They both went out to approximately 25,000 women in like 2 weeks. So yeah, that was really, really, really special. I'm very, very humbled and grateful for that. And now we're here because I'm just passionate and just so deeply passionate and committed to take any opportunity to speak about my passion and mission, which is helping women in their marriages and deep inner peace and healing. So both of them together, I think, this is what this is all about. And that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. This is really a pleasure. So let's talk about receiving. So let me just give an introduction to how I do things around here in this podcast. We have 4 pillars. Those are my 4 pillars that I work in with my clients in my own business. The 4 pillars are God is at the core, marriage and business or success. They work together. And you are the 4th pillar. You are the container that holds all the parts of your life. And without you, everything else does not have a place to be. It doesn't have a way to be expressed in the world. And so it's really, really important for us to take care of all 4 pillars because, if one of them is shaky or if one of them is weak, you are going to feel the imbalance. And what we want is to create flow. So, we focus on all 4 pillars around here. That's one of the awesome things about the work I do. It's really not about one thing or another thing. It's about the holistic, balanced approach, making sure that we are focusing on the 4 main things in your life. So for most people listening, for most women listening, God is at the core of everything they do, or at least they want that to be the case, and they have a little bit of God baggage to take care of, which is totally fine because we all have that. And the more you are aware of it, the more it will just, unravel and you'll get there. They're married and they have a business, a passion, a successful thing that they are going after. And then, we can't forget you as the container. It is one thing that I find a lot of people are not addressing and not speaking about is how you expand yourself to contain all this with spaciousness and peace and calm and all the good stuff. So now that we spoke about the 4 pillars, what we like to do around here in my podcast is take a topic and then address it from the 4 angles. And so there is receiving and God, which was last week, receiving and marriage, which is now, receiving and business will be next week, and receiving and you will be the week after. Every month, we really address receiving or whatever the topic is from all the angles with different guests. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so awesome, that there is so much to say about each topic that it really deserves a full month. So let's get into receiving. How do we receive? What are we receiving? Isn't it all about giving? Let's get into it.
Yeah, I love the question. So we definitely, the way we are raised is very much into the giving, which giving is amazing. And sometimes I actually help my clients when they want something in their life to actually expand. And like, if I want it, Where can I give that? Which this is an amazing topic in and of itself. The only thing that I found with myself coming out of this of school and learning, and that I see, in today's day and age, is that the focus is only on the giving. And we want to remember that there's actually an in-breath and an out-breath. We can't just only be exhaling, because exhaling alone, it's very nice. The trees are going to get a lot of, the whatever they need, but we're not going to be able to stay alive that way. So especially when it comes to marriage, that receiving is a feminine trait. And I love going into feminine traits. There are many more that I would love to speak about if we have the time. But one of them is receiving. It's our physical nature. We are in our physical makeup. We're the receiving. Kabbalistically, do I need to translate that? In the deeper Torah, that the feminine is the container, is the vessel for everything. And if we see in the world, right, the moon is the feminine that receives from the sun. The earth is Mother Earth receiving the rain. So in marriage, it's like not only nice, it's actually like one of the foundations, I would say, because the masculine can try to give, and naturally they want to. If we don't see that in our husbands, then that, we want to kind of, understand how and why that happened. There might be things covering it up, but naturally the masculine is the giver, the bestower, and the feminine is the container and the receiver. So we want to tap back into that, because with our receiving, so much in our marriage could really thrive. And I like to give this little analogy, or little example. So let's say, to help understand how important receiving is in a marriage. So let's say you have a girl, okay, she's 14, she's 15, she's 16, and you're sweeping up the house. Okay, you just had a Shabbos meal or any party, and you're sweeping up, and your teenage daughter comes over and she says, "Ma, I'm going to take over the room. It's fine. I'll do the sweeping." Wow, beautiful. Who wouldn't want a daughter like that? That is so special, and she just actually did a mitzvah, which is like a good deed of respecting her parents, right? Now, what happens if the same girl is in a school event and they're having a party at school, and a friend is sweeping up the house, and she goes over and she says, "Leah, Sarah, I'll do the sweeping. It's fine. Just give it over." That's beautiful. That's a chesed. That's a good deed. It's not respecting a parent, but it's still a nice deed, right? Now, what happens if she comes home in her own house and her husband takes the broom and her husband starts sweeping the floor, and she goes over and she says, "Don't worry, I'll do it. I'll take care of it." Now, something very, very different just happened over here. And normally, naturally, a girl in today's day and age, if she's not being taught and how to come in receiving in her marriage, will not understand what just happened, because fireworks are not going to go off. But something in her husband's masculine energy just got dimmed. If you imagine like a dimmer switch, he's not gonna go shock. "No, I'm gonna do it." He might say that. He might just give it over to you. But something in his masculine energy just got dimmed, because he naturally wanted to do that for you. And it's different than a mother-child relationship or the relationship between a few female friends. So if a woman would know that, as she sees her husband sweeping the floor, and she goes, "I feel like a queen when you do that for me or for the house," that is like, it's a game changer. It's a real gift. And I'm so passionate about this, because I feel when girls come in and they can understand this early on in their marriage, ask him to catch a bug for you. Ask him to open a pickle jar for you. Let him be your man. Like we need to be able, all of us were made up masculine and feminine energies. And it's okay. I'm very masculine most of the day. I'm giving classes, I'm doing stuff, very, very masculine. And masculine is amazing. We have both. We want to have both. Men, actually, they have masculine and feminine energy too. If they're learning their feminine energy. And it's okay. It's perfectly. Embrace your masculine energies as well. Have fun with it. Do amazing things with it. But if you look outside and you see construction worker, they have a construction hat on, because they're working all day. They come home. They don't have to go to sleep with it. Like, they don't have to sit around with it all day. It's like, if we're having that masculine hat on, take it off for the sake of your marriage. Just for the sake of the marriage, take off that construction hat or that masculine hat. Come back into your presence of receiving. And holding that space. And there's so much more I want to say about this, Bat-Chen, but let's say if you have any insights.
Wow. Okay. So there was 2 points that you brought here that I really love. Number one is we're so used to being around our female friends and our family that the things that we do there that are considered really great and totally aligned and not a problem at all. Not that there's ever a problem, but it doesn't even bring up any question. Sometimes when you translate it into your marriage will cause certain things to happen behind the scenes that we are not aware of. And I think that is such an eye-opener. Such an eye-opener. 1 second. Put her to sleep. She doesn't need anything, and she can't be in the light. It's Chava. Thank you. The wonders of doing both and balancing. I love it. Okay, so the eye-opener that sometimes you could do the same thing in two different situations. One is the right way or the natural way, and it just makes sense. And then the other one is causing something in the back of his mind, in the back of, the situation to spark, to, maybe click in the wrong way. That was a real important point that you brought up. And number two is the ability to switch gears to almost like, arrive and we had a guest, Rebbetzin Bat-Chen, who spoke about the pause. She talked and I think it was in March, in the topic of time. She spoke about take a pause, even if it's 10 seconds. Pause between activities. Allow yourself to transition from one thing to the next. Because if not, then life feels like you're running. And then you're never really intentional about anything you're doing because you're just catching up. And it feels like that's exactly what needs to happen, right? When you're saying, take off your masculine working hat and just allow yourself to be in your feminine energy. So powerful.
Yes. Yes. And you know what I would love to add to that, Bat-Chen? In the beginning, it might need a conscious decision. Once you start getting the feedback from your man, it doesn't need a conscious decision anymore because it kind of becomes your natural flow. Like you don't have to make a conscious decision. I'm going to a wedding now. Let me dress up and let me just say hi to everyone. How you doing? You look so great. No, we do that naturally. We naturally transition into that role because kind of you know how it will be like. So you don't come in with your construction hat into the wedding hall. You nicely transition into that. Once you embrace being a feminine energy in your marriage, it becomes really easy and natural because naturally it is our natural space. It's not something we have to kind of learn. Maybe we need to relearn it. But I can tell you, I have a little 4-year-old daughter right now. She does all of this naturally, which being feminine is so natural for her. So I believe it's natural for us. Maybe once we start practicing with it, we get back into that space. So another, this is not about receiving really, but first of all, back to the receiving. When I learned about the power of feminine energy and receiving, I made a commitment to receive wherever possible. Okay, because giving, we've already been taught for 20 years. Let's not forget about the giving part. It's just that we know about it, we learned about it, and we do it, we practice it already all throughout our lives. It's about coming back into the receiving, into the feminine trait of receiving. I make a point actually to receive wherever I can. So if somebody offers me any help, I'm going to say, thank you so much. I'm not going to say, oh, it's fine, I could do it myself. Or let's say, for example, I'm sitting in the car and my husband takes a Ricola candy for himself and he asks, do I want one? I'm going to say, yeah, thank you so much, even if I wasn't in the mood. You want to drink Do you want a tea? I have a nice lady, a middle-aged neighbor, like down the road from me, and she sometimes would offer me a tea. I go over to visit her sometimes on a Shabbos, and she tells me, "Honey, you want a tea?" Now, I'm not crazy over tea, but if she offers, I'm gonna say, "Yeah, thank you so much," because I want to practice the feminine, I would say, skill even of receiving. So I would say if it's something that makes me feel horrible or nauseous, I'm not going to do it. It's not about making myself feel not good. But if it's not going to hurt me, then I'm going to say yes, thank you so much. To my husband, absolutely every single time. And also just people out there in the world. And also I want to show Hashem, like I want to show God that I'm open to receive all the good he has to offer. And that starts by me being open to receiving all the good that other people offer me. So if somebody gives me a compliment, like when I was a teen, even way older, "I like your necklace." I'd say, "Oh yeah, I got it on sale," or "It's not real." Now I just say thank you, smile and say thank you. So, back to my example with a broom when sweeping the house, that's why I'm so passionate about girls and young women like understanding this when they get into marriage, because what naturally can happen is just from the goodness of her heart, she's going to tell her husband, "Don't worry, I'm going to do the sweeping," or "Can I get this for you?" "No, don't worry, I'm fine, I'm going to take care of it." And she's doing the "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine" thing. And it's just like dim, dim, dim. He's not might not protest. And then what happens many times I see with clients and women that I'm working with is 5 years down the road, there is so much resentment built up. And they're like, "I don't know why I'm taking care of another child in the house." Not even putting two and two together that they were kind of not allowing themselves to receive. So I would say, girls, women, the smallest thing, if it comes from your husband, "You want a cup of water? You're not thirsty? Please, please, thank you." Just a thank you. Or I love to like go even more, like to kind of expand that energy. And I would add things like, "I feel so taken care of when you do this for me." So it's not just the receiving. Let's say in my marriage, I'm the one that drinks mostly the coffees and sometimes the teas. But my husband's the one that makes sure my hot water thing is always filled up with water. So he just, so I can just say, "Just thank you for filling it up." Or I can add, like I say, it makes me feel so cared for when I always have the water urn filled up with hot water whenever I need it. So it's more than just the saying thank you. It's the receiving it. And it becomes, it's such a gift because you feel special. You feel like a queen. He gets to be in his masculine energy. And it's just amazing.
I love it. I love it. You know what? What you just did basically was give us an exercise. And just yesterday, I heard someone say that she took on herself to put a little rubber band around her wrist. And anytime she complained, she had to move it to the other hand. And the goal is to see how long you can keep it on one hand and not to move it, right? No complaining. She said the longest she was ever able to go was 5 days.
Wow.
That's the power of, how much the awareness, just raising awareness of what we're doing on a daily basis, on an hourly basis that we take for granted, don't even notice, aren't aware of at all. And this is one of those things that's an exercise I feel like would be so powerful if we can catch ourselves receiving the little tiny things and give ourselves almost like credit for it, right? I remember I was going down the stairs with the stroller and it's like so hard to bump it down the stairs, the little baby, the poor thing. And this guy is coming up the stairs like, "Oh, do you need help?" And my first reaction was like, "No way, I could do this. I'm just bumping it down. I'm so used to this. Like, it's my, baby number 8 is like my life." And like I caught myself and said, "Yes, thank you." And, two guys came, took my stroller, took it away from me, brought it down the stairs. Like the baby was like a cloud. And I thought, wow, look at me. I was able to say yes. It's such a skill, like you said, it is so hard to do if it's not your first language, right? And the problem is that a lot of us are used to being in those types of relationships where it makes sense to be independent, and a parent child relationship, it makes sense. Your parents want to teach you independence. They want you to, lend a hand. They want you to take over or say no thanks or whatever. But when are we around, a married relationship other than our marriage? We're not. So this is really a new place where you get to practice new things that you've never done before, which means that you have an opportunity to learn new skills and sharpen up some of the things that can really make a difference.
Wow, yeah, I love that story that you said with the stroller. Yeah, totally. I was in the airport once, and there was a woman there with her suitcase, two suitcases. She was trying to get them on the escalators, and a guy walked past and says, "Ma'am, can I help you?" And she's like, "No, I've got this." And now, honestly, maybe we don't know. Is it gonna be like she's alone here? She's a woman alone. Maybe it's not the time and place to accept another man's. I don't know. I'm not here to say because for safety reasons or whatever. She might be traveling alone, and that's not the right time and place. But I just saw his like face falling. And we don't realize sometimes, because sometimes it's like so little at a time what happens. So sometimes, Bat-Chen, women find themselves years later in their marriage, and they tell me, I fine, so but my husband doesn't give anything. How do I receive?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that
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 and that's a buildup. And what you
yeah,
were just saying, that's a buildup. One of the biggest problems is that you see couples 20 years later, suddenly everything is, down the drain. What happened? It's the resentment. It's the resentment that builds up. It's the
yeah.
little no's along the way. I I
Can
really
I
believe,
suggest two ideas, like
yeah,
for
go ahead.
women? So if
Yeah.
that happens, if you find yourself in a place where it is 20 years down the road, and you kind of feel like, how can I receive? He's not giving anything. So I want to say two things. First of all, is to try to come in and start receiving the things that he's already doing, not especially to you.
Right.
Okay, so let's say for me, I have Baruch Hashem a bunch of boys, and my husband takes them to shul, to synagogue on Shabbos. So let's say if that's your example or something similar, you might say, I really appreciate, thank you so much for taking the boys on Shabbos with you to shul, because it makes my afternoon so much easier. So he's doing it anyways. He's not doing it because of you. He's doing it because everyone else is doing it.
Right.
Okay. And let's just say he is doing it for you, for the family, like making money. Like, I really appreciate how hard you work to support our family, to come in and to kind of receive, which you can call it appreciate, but we want to focus on the receiving aspect of it, something that he's already doing. So look around. What is he already doing?
I
And to
love it.
comment and plan
Can I
for
give
that.
you can I give you an example of this? There was once a woman who worked with me. And she said, my husband does nothing, nothing. There is nothing I can receive. And I said, think about the things he is doing. Like, nothing. I said, you know what? Let's do it the other way. What would happen if he wasn't around? Like, let's get rid of him for a moment. He's not home for a whole week. What happens now? Like, what is lacking? What's missing? Oh, I guess, on Shabbos he makes kiddush, he makes the blessing on the wine. Okay. That's a big deal, like, can you imagine having to do it yourself? It's just so awkward, right? We do it sometimes when you have to, whatever, but like, can you thank him for being the man? You know, that's the man's job, and he's doing the man's job. He's really there for you. Like, he's showing up. He could not, but he is. And she's like, this we're going really low here. And I was like, no, we're not. No, we're not. Because every little thing counts, and there is no hierarchy of where you receive and it's high and where you receive and it's low. No, any little thing counts, because every little thing he does actually matters. Just like with you, do you think there's a hierarchy? Like, if you do dishes, is that more important than doing laundry? Is it more important than showing up, on time from an event and making sure that you go to sleep at the same time? Like who's putting the value on what?
I love that. But I love that putting him away. Take him out of the house for a month. I love that. And all of a sudden realize what he is doing to start appreciating that and be grateful. Wow. I love that. Powerful.
Yeah. I mean, listen, just appreciation in general. I heard, what's her name? Jasmine Star. Jasmine Star had a really great episode a long time ago when I was still listening to her, because now I'm so busy, I don't listen so much. But she's great. When I heard her say that if you want to know what to be grateful for, pretend that tomorrow morning you only have the things you were grateful for. Like you wake up in the morning and there's no toothpaste, there's no toothbrush, there's no toilet, there's no bed, there's no sheets, there's no pillow, right? Because you took all of it for granted.
Wow. Wow.
And that day I'm sitting there going, okay, did I have everything? Did I say everything? You know, I started thinking of the littlest things, because it would matter so much if there was no toilet, right? It would matter so much if there's no like towel, like all these little things, running water, like it just starts dropping all these little ideas in your mind. Like, wow, hungry? Sure, we can take you. We can feed you. Can you connect to my computer so it doesn't die? Hello, baby. Say hello to everyone. Oh.
We really have the same ages and stages. That's so cute. Okay, but Chen, the second thing that I was going to say, the second way and how to, like, what do you do if your husband doesn't do anything? I would say just try to start experimenting, asking for small little things that you're not going to get hurt if they don't happen. So can you, like, you're trying to open the pickle jar or the apple juice bottle or whatever, and you're like, can you help me with opening the pickle jar? You know, you're trying to fold the tablecloth on the table. It's just so much easier with two hands. So you're like, can I ask you if you want to take the other end and help me with it? So you're not going to be like, to come in before knowing, either way, I'll be okay. So I'm okay, but still to try to find small little opportunities to ask help from your man, to just come in vulnerable. I know I can do it myself, and I can, and doing yourself is amazing. We need to be able to have the strength to do it ourselves. Sometimes women are in a situation, which we know very well, you know, this past year, where their man is not around. Okay. So we need all of those skills, and we're grateful for it. But if we're focusing on upping our connection, then we want to embrace this feminine trait of receiving, letting our man be our man. That is so huge. And there was one thing, Bat-Chen, you mentioned about the complaining. I would love to say something about that. Can I?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Okay, so the complaining thing. So this is what I've noticed, and it's and you know, we heard this a lot, but I just had this amazing insight about this idea. So, you know, a man, he feels like a man and successful when his wife is happy. Now, she can be happy because she just went out with friends, but if she's happy, he feels all successful as a man. It has zero to do with him. He's not the one that did anything to make her happy. She's happy, he's successful. Now, this goes both ways around. When she complains, she can be complaining about the weather. But if she complains, she's unhappy, he gets like a shock to his system. My wife is unhappy. I'm just not successful as a man. Now, when we complain about the weather to our friends, our female friends, or we complain about our mother-in-law, we complain about anyone, anything. They're like, wow, I hear, so hard for you. Wow. Now, a man, alarm bells goes off in his head when we complain because my wife's not happy. So what am I doing wrong? Okay. Now, so I encourage women. I love that thing with a rubber band that you said. I encourage women, if you maybe try to let go of the complaining at all, but if you really feel like you want to vent or complain, call up your female friend, you know, and then when your husband comes home, maybe you don't need to at least complain right away. Maybe you're just going to feel better about it because you've spoken already to a female friend. You could just share without the complaining, because they do take it. It's a personal attack to their masculinity. I know it sounds interesting for us as women because, like, you know, big deal, he didn't do anything. But, and then it really goes both ways. So if we're happy because of the weather, because if we're happy because we just did a dancing class, if we're happy because anything, when you share that, your husband feels so amazing. He's like on top of the world. I'm a successful man because my wife is happy. So it's like there's two sides to it, and we can kind of cash it in, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. This is like my day one of the marriage breakthrough retreat. You probably remember because you were there. Um, it's so important. And I call it blame your husband for your happiness,
I love
right?
that.
I say, you're happy, blame him. You're like, but it's not his fault. I did it all myself. Like, come on. If he wasn't helping out or taking care of or doing the thing he does, then you would have a lot more on your plate and you wouldn't have the capacity to be doing the thing you're doing. So stop thinking, there's this thing of like, oh, it's all me. It's all me. Stop it. Because when you think it's all me, like I heard one lady, she's like, I could totally live off the grid. I could totally, because I get my clothes from the store and I get my food from the supermarket and I get this, that, the other, like everything everybody else is doing the way that life is, life is life. But I'm fine. I'm fine. I could totally do, live off the grid. Like, yeah, you live off the grid because you have all these things you're delegating. But if you actually lived off the grid, you'd be making your own clothes, you'd be growing your own food, you'd be processing your own, whatever. Like everything would be from scratch. You don't appreciate that. You don't take that into account when you think, oh, I can do it. I don't want that. Right. So let's bring a little bit of humility into the conversation. And even if he's not directly affecting the fact that you can succeed or directly helping in any way, you can reverse engineer and thank him. Thank him for what he is doing. The
I
fact that
love that.
I don't have to take care of the test for the car is a huge thing. Do you know what a headache that is? Right? And I'm so grateful every year that thing comes around. Like, I am so grateful that you're taking care of this. You're amazing. I don't know how you do it. And it's like, okay, like,
I love this. I love this, Bat-Chen, which brings me into another concept of femininity, which is the trade of the space of being versus doing, and again, being is a feminine trait. And again, when we come into the Kabbalistic ideas, Deepa Torah, we understand that masculine all week, we have 6 days, that's the masculine, that's the time and place to doing. And then we have Shabbos, where we go into a feminine state of being. A Shabbos is called the Shabbos queen. It's feminine. Being in the feminine state of being, which is also such a game changer in marriage. When we run around with like a chicken without a head, it is so unattractive. So I always go back to is it feminine? Feminine is key. Feminine is magnetic to the masculine. We know this. So we knew how to do that when we were dating, right? Feminine is attractive. So being is another feminine trait. So I used to think, early on in my marriage, my husband comes home and I should be going from one thing to the next because he's going to see what an amazing wife I am and how amazing I could do everything. But today, when my husband comes through the door, I want to be sipping a coffee on the couch or just with my feet up. Let him think I didn't do anything. It's okay. It's his wife is a queen. Like this running from one thing to the other, it's not attractive. So all of a sudden, he might just try to get himself away, because remember, it's masculine and feminine energy. They're either the magnet is, one side and they're pulling at each other, or they just can totally flip around. And then there's, it's so unattractive that just it repels. So
okay.
Being is so feminine. Yes, we still want to take care of things in the house, but sometimes women are like, we get married and like, so can you get this for me from the grocery? Can you pick up the clothes from the cleaner? Everything is about like the technicals of the doing. And the man comes in and is running. And you and I know, Baruch Hashem, we both have 8 kids. We both have a business that I make a point of this. I'm not running around. Even if I am going to be sweeping the floor or doing the dishes and my husband's around, I'm going to be humming a tune or I'm going to be singing. Come in feminine. It's such a game changer. Instead of like this huffing and puffing, It's just like, do we want that connection in the marriage? There are actually ways to get it. And these
Yeah.
ways are fun ways. They're fun ways. It's not
Oh,
hard work once you understand that it's just about being feminine.
I love it. I love it. You know, the first thing that comes to my mind is the women who are listening and they're thinking, if I was just sitting sipping tea, my husband's reaction would be like critical. Why are you not doing anything? Why is the laundry not done? Why didn't you do the dishes all day? Why is the house such a mess? Why blah 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 blah, right? And all these why questions of what's happening, they're trying to figure it out. What would you say to that?
It's a great question because I didn't mention that I do the dishes and I also do the laundry and I also like when the house is clean. So I do those things. So maybe good time management skills are helpful, and I'm very grateful to be blessed with them. So, and you know, and Bat-Chen is all about balance. So we do need to balance everything. And I do like a nice clean house, and I do love when there's warm food cooking for the family. And I do those things as well. It's just that when I'm around my husband, I'm not saying don't do anything, let your house know. When you're around your husband, when it's about you and him in the same space, try to not be in the manager running around like a chicken without a head mode, because it really is repelling for a man to, that's not what he finds attractive about a woman. So it's, if we make a conscious decision of like, I'm going to take care, I'm going to do, I want the house nice and clean and everything, but still when my husband comes home, that's when I'm going to go, I'm going to take off my construction hat and I'm going to be in the being mode. I'm going to sit down with him for supper, dinner, a few minutes, or just on the couch next to him, just even just sitting with the kids, you know, it's in a space of femininity, of being. And I think it's so powerful. You know, it's a great point that you brought up, because actually my husband and me, we both spend the entire day at home together. We both work from home. So how do I do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great question. And now I'm thinking, I never even thought into it, but it does happen. And it's so in my being at this point that when we're in the kitchen, you know, area of the house, that I just either I just ask for help, or like I do my stuff, and like, you know, I want to cook for Shabbos tomorrow, so can I have a volunteer to peel the potatoes for me, like on Wednesday night, so I have them ready. And sometimes it's going to be a kid. I'm not asking outright, because I don't want to, like, it's not an expectation. He doesn't have to do it for me. But sometimes my husband just, I'll do that for you. Or like, it's, we're in this together, and it's just bringing in the femininity as much as possible, right? Or I'm going to take care of the technical things in the house when he's busy at work. But running around like this masculine madman, you know, or mad woman, I'm going to try to really not do that. Really, it's
Yeah.
not attractive. So
You know what's coming up for me? What's coming up for me is that we have to remember. I love the advice, and I think it's really important to be aware of the being and the receiving and how important it is. And it's also really important to remember that each couple is unique and each couple has their own needs and their own ways that they connect and that they function. So let's take the 5 love languages, for example, right? One couple could have the guy being very, service, acts of service. Just, I need to be in acting mode. I need to do for you. I need to make sure that, I help out as much as possible because that is the way I speak love. So, my husband is one of those people. Acts of service is his thing. He will do the dishes. He will do the laundry. He will sweep. He will help, but he'll have a very hard time saying the words "I love you" because words are not his, main love language. For me, it's the opposite. I'm words, I'm quality time. I could spend all day just like, being in like La La Land, just spending time together and talking about how much I love you. But like, bottom line, it's hard for me to like do all the things because it's not my love language. It's not even my anyway language. I'm not, my natural isn't a doer. So when you see all the things I'm doing, thank God, thank God, thank God, I'm able to do so much in the business in my life. It's being able to find ways to optimize and align what I really want with the actions, and then I'm able to like motivate myself and get them done. Also, you said about time management. It was really hard for me at first, growing up and being an adult. And thanks to the fact that my husband is so good at time management and he has time in his head, like he actually knows what time it is at all times. He can calculate, things in the supermarket. He'll just like do a whole shopping and tell you how much it's going to come out. It's usually to like one off, like that.
Oh,
Very
wow.
It's very cool. It's like he has a very computer brain, which is really awesome. And I at first thought it was a real joke that God was playing on me, because why do you put such an opposite together? But with time, I realized it was a blessing, and I was able to gain a lot of skills just by letting them rub off, right? By receiving them instead of rejecting them and pushing them away and like, stop telling me what time it is, or stop telling me to be aware of time. Like, oh, he would say, what time is it? And I, instead of thinking he's messing with me, he's trying to be mean or whatever, I stopped and I was like, you know what? I think he's trying to help me.
I love that. I love that. Wow.
Was a big turning point in our marriage. But when I realized, it is actually to my advantage to learn these skills and be able to. So I'm saying I appreciate that we're bringing a lot of examples of what works for us or what works in general. But I also want to remind the listeners that their marriage is their unique marriage. And what works for you, if it works, keep it. And if something you hear here is going to work or not work, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just means that your marriage is unique, which is why I am so passionate about working one-on-one with women, because I found that I don't just want to teach you the things. I want to help you find and like fine tune and really click it into place in the way that works for you the best. Right? I think that's the real point that
Yes,
I want to get.
yes. That was a real important point to bring into the picture. Very, very important. I'm so grateful that you brought that up. The only additional thing I would add is that having worked with so many women, sometimes they would come in and they would say, also in one-on-one sessions, right? They would come in, my husband's not that type, or that's not his love language, or he's not allowed, he doesn't know how to share, and so many of this was able to really turn around for them just with a few new ideas and tools. So that's why now I'm so much more open to the idea that we actually can change the dynamics in our marriage. And this is another thing I like to help women understand, is when they come in and they say, why am I always the one that wants to work on my marriage? Why is my husband he's not interested in doing anything? And it's across the board. Women are just want to work on their marriage. So I like to just, explain this in a way that helps women feel better about this, because it's true. You will find that mostly men, they don't think about working on their marriage. Even if they do feel that they're not happy, they don't know how to go about it. I explained it once to my husband. He was laughing at the analogy. I said, imagine you explain to me that, you know how you want to fix the car, you just crawl underneath the car, and I'll give you the exact instructions and how you kind of like the mechanics of it and how you fix it. And I'm like, please just like, can you do this for me? So a man, that's how even if they're not happy, you can tell them, just do like this, tell your wife that. And they're like, it's not their strong point. And that's not the only thing I want to say. I want everyone listening to just look out the window if you can. I'm sitting in front of a nice, beautiful window, but if it's not right now, just at a different time, even just look around your house and think about who built the house that you're living in. Might have not been your husband, but I can take a guess and say it was probably men. I know we did construction in our house last winter. We hired a framer, installation guy, the wiring guy, and what else? The sheetrock guy and the air conditioning guy. All of them were men. Some discrimination going on here. I don't know. We were not into hiring any women for any of these jobs. So when you look outside and you see like the roads, we had snow now and here in New York now, and okay, like it kind of dried up, melted on the roads by itself, but you're gonna be outside in the freezing weathers. You're gonna see the men are gonna be the ones shoveling the snow. The men are the ones that pave the roads for us. The men are actually the ones that build a car for us, and all of those things were men did it. Why? I'll tell you, they're just more capable when it comes to these things. So even though you could teach a woman how to do it, and we're not discriminating, if you want to go and you want to climb into the sewer there, dig up, do the construction, it's fine. Hopefully someone's going to hire you. We're not discriminating. It's a free country. But most of it, men are more capable. So we women for generations are happy to live in houses that men built for us. We're happy to drive on roads that men paid for us. We're happy to use toilets that men did the sewer systems for us. And we're happy, all of that, because men are more capable. So I tell women, women are more capable when it comes to relationships. It's just how it is. We are more capable when it comes to relationships. So yes, it is true that we will find that men kind of, either they don't care about working on their relationship, or even if they know that it's not working, they don't know the first thing how to start doing it, like teaching me how to crawl under the car and starting to fix the mechanics of it. So we women are more powerful when it comes to relationships, and it's an empowerment. It's not he doesn't care about the marriage. He does. He just doesn't know how to fix it. He doesn't know the first thing on how to fix it. And we have the power when it comes to relationships. So yes, it is going to be the women that are going to, that's why you're here. That's why you're listening to all of this.
You know what's interesting? I love that you said this. And that's why this leads me to think, and that's why I only work with the wife. I have absolutely no interest in dragging your husband to a meeting that he doesn't know what to do with, and he feels attacked, and he doesn't understand what they want from him. And do I really have to be there? And it feels like he's being taken to the principal's office. He doesn't know what to expect. He doesn't know what you want from him. And you end up being resentful for the fact that he's not taking it seriously or doing the thing right. He doesn't know how to do the thing right. This is not his thing. When you can take responsibility for your part, you are doing it for both of you. And when I asked my own coach, mentor at the time, I was part of a marriage class, and I said, it's just not fair that I'm always the one going to the classes. I'm the one who cares. I felt that way very much. And she said, okay, you don't have to. I'm like, yeah. But I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. You don't have to. If you want it, then you come. And if you don't, then you don't. Of course I want my marriage. Okay, so here you are, right? Because it matters to you, then you're going to come and do it. It matters to them, but they don't know the first thing about it. If you do it, they will come along. They will definitely dance the dance, right? And I've seen it so many times with parenting classes that I've taken, with marriage classes, with any new skill, anything I'm doing. I bring it. At first, he ridicules it. He laughs about it. He says it's totally not going to work. There's no way, blah, 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 right? The first thing I remember when we were newly married was the how to talk to kids so they listen and listen so they speak. It was, a parenting class I went to. I had to get the book. I had to do the workbook. I had to do the whole thing. And he was just sitting on the side laughing the whole time. It's not going to work. 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 Until it worked. And then he turned around and said, okay, what do I need to do now? And he caught on. He caught on because he needed the proof. He needed to really,
Yes.
And that's okay. I didn't give up because it mattered to me. And that's the point is you will continue going because you care, because you want to be happy, because you want this to work.
Yes.
Right?
And another thing, but if you do find that man that goes and he wants to do some, marriage classes and how to change his marriage, it is so much harder when he puts in the effort to turn around the dynamics. But when the wife is the one to take the steps to the dynamics can turn around so much faster and easier. It's, it's brought down in our sources. I don't know exactly the source, but we women have more power when it comes to relationship. If the man is the head, we are the neck. We can turn it any way we want. And I've seen it so many times. I would not be saying it with such, everyone's situation is unique. If you are in a very, not safe situation, please go and get help. But for the most part, we women, we do have the power. I've seen it time and time again. And I think sometimes, yes, so many times it's just about learning a little new idea, a new way. For me, I always come back to is it feminine? Just ask yourself that question. I find time and time again, feminine is so attractive. Even just looking around the house, and I learned how to do this with my kids also. Bat-Chen, let's say I'm looking around the house and like, I don't know, I have Shabbos cooking to do. There's so much going on. It's the kids, the house is a mess. And like, I used to, still sometimes happens, I would complain, this house is a mess, or like, what's going on here? And now I just ask myself, honey, what do you really want? And that is, I just want some help. So I would say I could really use some help around the house. And with kids, it's amazing. Can I have a volunteer to do something is a sentence that I like to use often. And when it comes in a marriage, also, we find ourselves complaining. And every time when we complain, we can just ask, what do I really want? I would just love to get some help. And then we ask it. It's such a game changer.
I love it. I love it. This is so great. This is such a good conversation. I want to hear from you guys in the comments, in the feedback. Send us emails. This is so helpful. Just me listening to this, such a good reminder. Receiving is the woman's superpower. Use it, lean into it, allow it into your life. Sometimes I think that, I'll tell you a story to really explain it, illustrate it. When I was in high school, I had to pass the Regents of, I don't remember what, maybe it was English or history, something that I needed help with. And because English wasn't my first language, I really needed, one of the girls volunteered to tutor me. And she would stay after school every single day for months to help me pass that test. And I got like an 89. I was so happy. Like, really, for a girl who did not grow up in the country and didn't know the language enough to like succeed, I was so proud of myself. And she was very happy too. She was really proud of the work that she'd put in. And I felt so much gratitude towards her that I wanted to buy her a gift. I wanted to thank her. I wanted to do something for her. And she kept rejecting it, saying, no, this is my good deed. This is what I did. I did it for you. I did it for God's sake. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And as much as she's right, she wanted only to do it for God's sake. And, she believes that if she receives a payment for it now, then maybe she'll lose out in the next world. I don't know. She has her calculations. But for the person wanting to reciprocate, it was the most painful rejection.
Yes.
It was the most painful rejection. I saw you saying, ouch. It is exactly that.
Yeah.
It is crazy to think that, and I see this as God baggage too, because if you're sitting there calculating, if I receive now, then I'll give up something in the next world.
Yeah.
So wrong. It is so wrong. We're not, it's not that type of, that's not how it works. And the lack of awareness of what that creates in a relationship is so painful that years later, listen, we're already like past our 28 years since high school. And this was not 12th grade. It was probably 10th grade. Like, how many years am I still thinking about that feeling of rejection? Right. And so like when a husband says, here something, or even a nice word, or wants to help, or wants to do, or if it does and is not appreciated or not seen, it is so painful.
Yeah, I would love to add something to that, Bat-Chen. I think the story is so powerful. And that was between two females. Now, up that, when it comes to masculine and feminine energy, which is a whole different dynamic, I would explain it even to, you have a nursing baby. I do as well. Imagine the baby not wanting to nurse. That's how I would explain it. It's like mommy is engorged and she wants to give, and the baby just doesn't want to take. That, I think that more even explains the painful feeling. And again, we don't see like the eyes like just dim over a little. Like for a masculine, it's really, really painful. And that story, I think, was very, very wow.
And then I want to add another layer to that. I want to say that, you know, in the song, there's a song, it's a verse. והריקותי לכם ברכה עד בלי די. והריקותי לכם ברכה עד בלי די. I will pour over you like buckets. I will empty onto you blessings to no end. Just keep pouring and pouring and pouring. And God says this to the, you know, to the Jews. I love that song. It makes me happy every time because just the visuals of the song, like watching a bucket being poured onto you with all the good you want, every piece of blessing you want, like money and happiness and love and peace and calm, and just bring it on, right? And it's just like coming. And I'm thinking, so what's the problem? Why are we not feeling it? Right? I love how you're just like opening up and letting it in. It's us. We're the ones rejecting it. We're the ones unable to receive it. What is wrong with us? Right? And when we reject the blessing, we reject God. Just like when we reject the compliment, we reject our husbands. It is so painful for God to want to give you and for you to get in the way and say, no, it's impossible. No, I can't. No, it's too much for you. No, I know this is, you know, too much of a bother. Like,
If I get it in this world, then I'm not going to get it in that world.
yeah, what is this? Stop it with the calculations. God wants to give it to you. Take it. Open up.
I love that. And one more thing, Bat-Chen, also that just comes to mind, a little example. Sometimes, even when we're talking about more about intimacy and your husband tells you like, you know, you're beautiful. Don't say, but I have 50 more pounds to lose. Say, thank you. I love when you say that. Can you say that again? Something vulnerable, open, receive. Even if you have the 15 pounds to lose, I know I still have it from my baby. Last baby.
You know what? In our family, we're not allowed to talk about weight. We just don't. You know, it's this like rule that because we're a family of a lot of girls, thank God I have 6 girls. I think you're the opposite, right? You have 6 boys?
6 boys.
Yeah. So for us, it's 6 girls, 2 boys. It just became part of the conversation that it's not one of the things we talk about. It's not even a thing. You don't get on a scale. You don't talk about weight. It's not a thing, because what's more important is the way that you feel, the way that you act, the way that you accept yourself and all the parts of you. So it's just, that just came up for me. I don't know why. It's like a tangent. Wow. So let's leave our listeners with something really powerful about receiving before we end. What do you have to add to all of what we said?
To add about receiving, can the add-on be a tiny little twist of the receiving?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not really about receiving. I would say just to maybe let go of control, because also I'm so passionate about marriage, and this one last piece of advice. And when a woman acts like a man's mother, like his mother, a man is not attracted to his mother. Really not. Good thing he isn't, right? We want him to be attracted to us, so let's not act like his mother. So that's one thing I would say. What we mentioned receiving as being feminine, being in the state of being as feminine, and also to let go of control, just to let go of taking care of things for him. If you would have put it into ways, you would have known the directions. Or if you wouldn't look into your phone, then you would have all these helpful advice things. They're so not helpful. I find many times women come in as in they think they have to kind of take care of their husband's spirituality. That's a big one when it comes to maybe, in my community. I don't know how it is in your community. I've been taught so much about the amazing things of learning, all these other things, and like we're into taking care of his spirituality. And I could tell you, I would not appreciate if my husband would say, Chany, maybe you would like say the whole entire Tehillim every single day. I know it's a real amazing thing. I'll even make you a siyum once you're done. When you finish it, we'll make something big. I want I'll take care of my side and let him just take care of his own.
Listen, I think this is universal. Can you imagine? I know that even women who aren't Jewish or religious in any way, you worry, you think about it. You're like, how is it that I'm so into journaling, into meditation, into whatever, and he's so not, right? It's like it definitely is something that
I can relate to that because I started my an inner journey of I would say healing and growth was close to 12 years ago. And my husband was totally not interested in what I was learning or listening to at the time. When he started getting interested, when he started noticing I'm different. So right. I would tell anyone on that journey, let go, just leave him, let him do your own thing. But when I started showing up differently, all of a sudden I was happier, more fun to be around, more let go of the drama. And he wasn't coming home to someone who's complaining and dramatizing, what I like to call the Ain't It Awful Club, just what's awful all around. I used to be part of the Ain't It Awful Club in the past. So so all of a sudden when there was a change in me, he started noticing. I want to know hey, what are you doing?
Exactly. And so, back to what you were saying, if we try to control the way he does his spirituality or the way that he does the things that we want him to do, I remember, very early on, looking to see is he doing it right, trying to adjust and talk over him, this is how you're supposed to do it. Can you imagine someone doing that to you? So frustrating. So I definitely love that you say this, receive in the most real way. Just let it be the way it is.
I love that. I also try to, to really dig it in deep and how it would feel for us, because usually it's the women who try to take care of the husband's spirituality. I don't know. Interestingly so. I don't know why it is like that, but trying to turn it around, that imagine you got married and it's a few days later, it's on Friday, your new husband comes and he's like, okay, so you're baking challah today? And you're like, baking challah? Well, I just got married. And he's like, yeah, but it's one of your 3 primary mitzvahs, so you should be baking challah. How much greatness and all this, abundance it's going to bring into our life. You're like, no, nobody wants to hear that. I'm like, no, my mother doesn't even make challah. What's no. So yeah, it doesn't feel so pleasant.
Yeah. And you know what? If you bake challah, it's fine, but you chose it, or you worked it out. Yeah. I actually ask my husband if we need challah, and then I bake it if he says yes or no, based on his answer, because he's in charge of making sure that we have everything we need. Oh, this is an amazing conversation. I wish we could keep going. And I would love to know from you, how can people find you? Where are you now? What are you up to?
Okay, yeah. So first of all, my website, ChanyFelberbaum.com. That's CHANY FELBERBAUM. If you do /free classes, there are more classes on femininity, some on healing, great classes there. ChanyFelberbaum.com /free gift is actually a printable download. You can print it out with 3 secrets on how to activate your feminine energy and supercharge your marriage. Some of them we touched on in this talk, some more ideas there. And I'm actually into, I'm not going to mention it. By the time this comes up live, it's going to be behind it and everyone's going to know about it anyway. So.
Okay. Great. I
Yeah.
love it.
Wow, this was such fun.
Thank you so much for being here with us. This was amazing. I think this was one of my favorite conversations. I really got vibrating on the inside towards the end. I feel like we touched on really important things and the flow of it was amazing. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to the listeners. Make sure you come back next week for another amazing episode and don't forget to be connected for real.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.